I kind of spent most of my life in California. I met my husband when I was 17 years old. We kind of fell in love at first sight. And 2 years later, we went into the ministry. We spent over 50 years in ministry in California and Nevada. We were pastoring a church in Central California at the time. 6 years ago, he woke up with a backache one morning, and the diagnosis came in. He had 6 months to live. He had 4-stage cancer, and he lived 5 weeks. He was a lover of people. He loved people. He was so optimistic. In fact, Pastor Rod tells me, even now, he said, I always wanted Pop to just get down on something, but he was a very upbeat, optimistic person. And one of the things that he said, we will tell each other every day, I love you. And there wasn't a day in the 54 years, 10 months, and 12 days that we were married that he didn't say, I love you. That's the type of person that I was married to all those years. And that's who I miss more than anything. A little over 2 years ago, and I moved to Texas with my son, Rod, Nancy, and my granddaughter, Megan. Knew nobody. I felt like that day when my husband passed away, I found myself in the hallway of the hospital staring at a blank wall. And this time when I got to Elevate Life, again, I felt like I was starting all over again, staring at that blank wall. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know who I was anymore. That first Sunday, I know Pastor Rod introduced me to 100 people. I remembered nobody's name. I felt lost in this huge crowd, and I didn't know what to do. And I remember the first year that I was at Elevate Life, I literally cried through all the worship. I never sang a word of the song. I cried through most of the sermons. And then Pastor Keith, he said, you have a fingerprint that no one else has to leave an imprint on the world that no one else can. And that statement shook me so much that I could not get it out of my head. Year went on, as alone as I felt, as confused, not knowing who I was. I forgot that person that I used to be a keynote speaker at conferences and retreats. All of a sudden, I wasn't that person anymore, and I didn't know who I was. And I remember one time, Pastor Whitney was preaching, and I had my head down crying, and I heard her say the words, if you're still breathing, your story's not over. And I remember looking up because I was convinced she had her finger pointed straight at me.
The promise he told you hasn't come to pass yet. Your redemption story isn't over. You just haven't seen it yet. God isn't finished. He's not finished.
Those words rang in my ears. I couldn't get over that. And I thought, God, if there's a story for me still, what am I doing? Where am I going? And I remember one time Rod and Nancy told me, he said, Mom, if you're going to ever connect, you've got to connect in some groups or start serving. You can't just go sit on a church pew every Sunday morning and meet people. So I joined the events committee, and I met some wonderful people that I worked with. I became a part of a home group that met once a month. I met another group, a large group of people. I love this church. I've grown so much inside of me because once my husband left me, I had to find me all over again because we were one together. But now he's gone and I had to find me, and Elevate Life has helped me find who I am. And I think so many times when I think about advance and advance we will, that's my motto, and I've hung on to it. I say it often every day. Advance, Linda Querry, advance you will. And because of Elevate Life, I am where I am today.